back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, suppose Obama succeeds in his ploy, a desperate ploy. He's running for populist cover. He's running for anti-Wall Street cover. The Senate, of course, can stop helicopter Ben Bernanke, and there are signs that that is happening. There's a massive tectonic shift going on in the Congress. But now Obama comes out and says, all right, I want to prevent these banks from also acting as hedge funds. In other words, banks with FDIC-insured deposits under the Federal Reserve cannot engage in proprietary trading, meaning speculation, hedge fund operations. Let's remember what that means to you. The crisis of 2008 is not just the bankruptcies that happened in Wall Street. It's gas at $5 to $6 a gallon. How did that happen? Well, the London ICE exchange, created with the help of Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. And they then used that ICE exchange to mercilessly drive up the price of gasoline to $5 to $6 a gallon. That was the crisis of 2008 from the point of view of many average people. How did it happen? Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. They were buying virtual barrels. There were no position limits. There were no margin requirements. There was no regulatory regime at all. And simply wild speculation. It was a market that had no place to go but up, 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 up. Goldman poured in money. Morgan Stanley poured in money. By the time we got to the peak of it, my estimate was, back of the envelope estimate, if you were paying $5 a gallon for gas in about July, August, September of 2008, $1 for every gallon you bought was going to Goldman and Morgan. Might be 50 or 60 cents to Goldman, 50 or 40 to 50 cents to Morgan Stanley. You were subsidizing Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley to the tune of $1 a gallon. And then, of course, another couple of dollars for Citibank, for J.P. Morgan. Don't forget the rest of them. Lehman Brothers was still speculating like mad in those days, and so on. So that's the issue. If Goldman is now a bank and they can't turn around and have a proprietary trading desk, then this cramps their style. Now, naturally, the jackals and hyenas at Goldman and Morgan Stanley and J.P. Morgan Chase and the rest of them, they're all running around now finding ways to work around this even before it starts. But the question is, once you get on a kind of a regulatory roll of this type, it can go far. Now, Kremlinology. At the White House ceremony, the announcement on Thursday, the 21st of January, 1 year into Obama's term, we had this pattern where the guy standing next to Obama is no longer Tiny Tim Geithner, the tax cheat. It's no longer helicopter Ben Bernanke, but this eminence grise, this Paul Adolf Volcker. Now, Volcker, whatever else we can say about him, he's, of course, the villain of 1979, 1980, 81, 82, created a huge recession, tremendous unemployment, and put the interest rates at the highest level in several millennia. Volcker is, what can we call him, a financial institutions oligarch. He believes in preserving the banking system, and he operated most of his life under Glass-Steagall. So Volcker is now one of those who can understand that if you don't reimpose at least some part of Glass-Steagall, you're headed for another panic crash within not very long. So this is now a very interesting thing. The authority of Volcker, his immense prestige, much more so than Geithner, this is helping Obama to push this re-regulation to some degree, partial re-regulation, first step towards re-regulation through. Geithner was standing far away from Obama. Larry Summers, as far as I could see, was not there at all. So here's what I would say to Obama. If you want to reverse your field, if you want to get some anti-Wall Street creds, you want to get some populist cover, and I mean economic populist cover, fire Geithner. Remember, even Mad Dog Bush, notoriously tone-deaf when it came to the popular will. After the Democrats took the Congress in 2006, and Bush got a thumping. What did he do? He fired Rumsfeld. All right, let's make Geithner the Rumsfeld of the hour. Geithner must fall. Oust Geithner. Fire him. And while you're at it, fire Summers, Larry Summers. Remember these two guys. And, of course, you got to also fire Geithner's deputy, the Goldman Sachs guy who's the expert in green jobs. In other words, green speculation, green ripoffs. That's Geithner's deputy. Get rid of him in the process. Geithner, of course, has committed a federal crime. Everybody can see it. Geithner instructed AIG to falsify their Section A reports to the Securities and Exchange Commission. He violated the Securities Act of 1933, securities fraud by Geithner, because he told them hide the $70 or so billion that were paid by AIG to a gaggle of Wall Street banks, the usual suspects, and, of course, almost $40 billion paid to Société Générale of France, Deutsche Bank of Germany, Barclays Bank of Britain, Union Bank of Switzerland from Switzerland. That's the handiwork of Geithner. He's, of course, a tax cheat. You can get him on IRS. You can get him on SEC. You can get him 6 ways to Sunday. It's amazing. This guy must go. If Obama doesn't do that, then that's a very ominous sign for Obama. So Obama can choose between himself and Geithner. And since Obama is reported to be a narcissist, that should be a clear choice. Let's also remember Larry Summers, the derivatives merchant, right? IMF operative, shock therapy operative in Russia, sinister influence in the entire Clinton administration, along with his protector, Bob Rubin of Goldman Sachs and Citibank. Geithner, we've heard about. Now we have Summers as president of Harvard University. He believed in derivatives so much that he put the entire Harvard endowment into high-risk toxic derivatives and lost between a third and a quarter of the entire Harvard endowment. So these are examples. We have the new theory of the workings of the oligarchy from Janine Waddell. We see here in various broadcasts, right, about the Flexians, how they all interlink. Yeah, these people, this is a principle of negative selection. In other words, you take your biggest failures. Geithner failed at the New York Fed. Summers failed as the director of the Harvard Endowment. But then they get promoted again. So failure, nothing succeeds like failure. It's time for ministerial responsibility. If it's 17 to 18% unemployment and underemployment on Geithner's watch, fire Geithner, fire Summers, fire Geithner's deputy, another Goldman Sachs character, and clear the decks and see what happens. Let the dust settle, as Obama said. Back in a minute.